Lila woke up in the middle of the night to a strange sound. It was a soft whisper, like someone calling her name. She got out of bed and tiptoed to the window. Outside, in the moonlight, she saw a tall figure standing by the village well. It was Easy, the phantom healer. He was talking to someone, but there was no one there. Lila's heart pounded. Who was he talking to? And why did it feel like something bad was about to happen? Lila hurried outside, but by the time she reached the well, Ease was gone. The next morning, she found him at the clinic, looking tired and weak. Ease, I saw you last night, she said. Who were you talking to? Easy looked at her with sad eyes. I was talking to the spirits, he said. They warned me that danger is coming. Lila shivered. She trusted Ease, but the thought of danger scared her. She decided to stay close to him and protect him as best as she could. That day, a little girl named Amora came to the clinic with a high fever. Her mother was worried and begged Ease to help. Ease placed his hands on Amora's forehead, and a soft glow surrounded them. Slowly, Amora's fever went down, and she smiled. Everyone cheered, but Lila noticed that Easy looked even weaker. She helped him to a chair and gave him some water. You need to rest, she said. Easy nodded, but she could see the worry in his eyes. That night, Lila couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Easy and the danger he mentioned. Suddenly, she heard a noise outside. It was the same whispering sound from the night before. Lila grabbed a lantern and went outside. She followed the sound to the village square. There, she saw a shadowy figure lurking behind a tree. Who's there? She called out. The figure stepped forward, and Lila gasped. It was a man with a sinister smile. I am Jaro, he said. And I am here for the stone. Lila's heart raced. She knew about the magical stone that gave Ease his powers. You can't have it, she said bravely. Jaro laughed. We will see about that, he said, disappearing into the night. The next morning, Lila told Ease about Jaro. Ease's face grew pale. He is dangerous, he said. We must protect the stone. The village chief, Baba, called a meeting. Everyone was worried about Jaro. They decided to take turns guarding the clinic and keeping an eye out for any strangers. Lila stayed close to Easy, helping him with his patients and making sure he rested. One day, a young man named Kofi came to the clinic. He had a deep cut on his arm. Lila cleaned the wound and Easy healed it. Kofi thanked them and offered to help guard the clinic. Lila was grateful. Kofi was strong and brave, and she felt safer with him around. As the days passed, Lila and Ease grew closer. They shared stories and laughter, and Lila found herself falling in love with him. But there was always the shadow of Jaro lurking in the back of her mind. One evening, as the sun was setting, Easy took Lila's hand. I have something to tell you, he said. I love you, Lila. Lila's heart skipped a beat. I love you too, she said. They embraced, but their moment was interrupted by a loud crash. They ran to the clinic and found Jaro and his men breaking in. Ease tried to use his powers, but he was too weak. Jaro grabbed the stone and laughed triumphantly. No. Lila cried. She tried to stop Jaro, but he pushed her aside. Suddenly, Kofi appeared and tackled Jaro. The stone flew out of Jaro's hand and rolled across the floor. Lila grabbed it and ran to Ease. She placed the stone in his hand, and a bright light filled the room. Ease's strength returned, and he used his powers to drive Jaro and his men away. The villagers cheered, but Ease looked worried. This is not over, he said. Jaro will be back. Lila nodded. She knew they had won this battle, but the war was far from over. She held Easy's hand and vowed to protect him and the village, no matter what. Days turned into weeks, and Lila and Ease prepared for Jaro's return. They trained with Kofi and the other villagers, learning to defend themselves. Ease taught Lila how to use the stone's power, and she discovered she had a natural talent for healing. One night, as Lila was practicing with the stone, she had a vision. She saw Jaro plotting with a group of men in a dark cave. They were planning to attack the village and take the stone by force. Lila woke up in a sweat. She knew they had to act fast. She told Easy about her vision, and they gathered the villagers. "We must be ready," Easy said. "Jaro is coming, and we must protect our home." The villagers agreed and worked together to set traps and fortify the village. The night of the attack, Lila felt a mix of fear and determination. She stood by Easy's side, holding the stone. As Jaro and his men approached, a sense of calm washed over her. She knew they were ready. The battle was fierce. Jaro's men were strong, but the villagers fought bravely. Easy used his powers to heal the wounded and drive back the attackers. Lila used the stone to protect herself and her friends. In the middle of the chaos, Lila faced Jaro. "This ends now," she said. Jaro laughed. "You can't defeat me," he sneered. But Lila was not afraid. She held the stone and focused all her energy on Jaro. A bright light surrounded them, and Jaro screamed in pain. When the light faded, Jaro was gone. The villagers cheered, but Lila knew the fight was not over. She looked at Easy and smiled. "We did it," she said. Easy hugged her tightly. "Yes, we did," he said. But Lila knew there would always be new challenges. She vowed to protect the village and the people she loved, no matter what. As the sun rose over Kumbi, she felt a new sense of hope and strength. She knew they were ready for whatever came next.